Well, over the last few days, we've been looking at the life of Jacob. And today we turn our attention away from Jacob and focus on his son, Joseph. Joseph's brothers, we know the story that they were jealous of him, that they sold him into slavery. And Joseph, he became a slave in Egypt to Potiphar. Now, Potiphar was an officer of Pharaoh and he was a captain of the guard. And Joseph managed everything in Potiphar's house. Everything was under his control except one thing, and that was Potiphar's wife. But Potiphar's wife was not content. She desired Joseph, but he would not give in. He practiced the 3 R's, and the 3 R's that he practiced help us in dealing with temptation today. And so R number 1 is to refuse. Genesis chapter 39 and verse 10. Although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her. Day after day, that temptation came, but he kept practicing the first R, to refuse. The second R was to run. When the first one kind of gave way, here comes the second one. Genesis 39, verse 11 and 12. Now, one day he went into the house to do his work, and none of the household servants were there. She grabbed him by the garment and said, "Sleep with me." But leaving his garment in her hand, he escaped and ran outside. He physically had to run away from her, even if it meant leaving his outer garment. And there's a lot of times that we're content to just sit there when we should run away from the temptation. And the third R is regardless of the cost. Genesis 39, verse 13 through 20. When she saw that he had left his garment with her and ran outside, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "my husband brought a Hebrew man to make fools of us. He came to me so he could sleep with me, and I screamed as loud as I could. And when he heard me screaming for help, he left his garment beside me and ran outside." She put Joseph's garment beside her until his master came home. Then she told him the same story. "The Hebrew slave you brought to us came to make a fool of me. But when I screamed for help, he left his garment beside me and ran outside." And when his master heard the story, his wife told him, "These are your things the slave did to me." He was furious and had him thrown into prison where the king's prisoners were confined. So Joseph was there in prison. It didn't matter what the cost of not giving in to the temptation. Joseph was not going to give in, even if it meant undergoing these false allegations and having to spend time in prison. He refused, he ran, and he did not give in regardless of the cost. When temptation comes your way, let me encourage you to practice the 3 R's. We think about reading, writing, and arithmetic, but let us focus on refusing, running, and to do it regardless. Hope you join me again tomorrow.